Johnny, many years ago when I was studying at University of Indiana for my doctorate, at the same time I was teaching full-time at Butler University up in Indianapolis. We decided to live out in Brown County just for the ambiance that was there, and the housing was a place we could get a home at the time at an affordable amount. I remember the first house that we saw, we fell in love with it. Again, that smell of Brown County came back, and the polished wood floors of many people walking around in their stocking feet. And there was a creek, a babbling creek, running right under the corner of the house. And I just fell in love with that place. And it was the feeling of that home that brought me to that house. It didn't take too long until we moved way up on Greasy Creek Road, way up on top of a high hill to an 8-sided stone house. And that was one of my very favorite places because we could look out over about 1.5 miles of distance, maybe 2 or 3 square miles into the valley of Greasy Creek from that hilltop. Wasn't too long until we noticed that we didn't have a garden right there at the house. We shared a garden down the road. Wanted to do some animals and homesteading, and that became popular. The Needmore Commune was happening, and they were talking about living life in the organic way. We went out there and saw sheep that were going to be sheared later for wool. We saw beehives for honey. We saw all the organic gardens, and you are what you eat. There were several articles in the Nashville paper that were very attractive to us, so we decided to homestead. Bought 15 acres north of Helmsburg with a pond about 1.5 acres in size. Moved in several buildings on skids. Had to put in our own water supply and our inside bathroom. This was a fixer-upper, to say the least. One thing we noticed right away, sugar maples were in the front yard, so we were tapping the trees for maple syrup. I got 36 hives of bees. John Mills had been the potter here in Nashville. He helped me with those bees a great deal. And it was one of the funny things that happened was bringing those bees to that location. We bought most of the hives all at once, put them on the back of a pickup truck, and we wanted to make a straight shot all the way to where the bees are going to be set up. But we had to have gasoline. And when we stopped at the gas station, we cleared the whole station. The bees were just all throughout the air. Probably there must have been about 400 or 500 bees all around the gas pumps, and it was quite a sight. That homesteading led to an interest in dairy goats. We started going to the state fairs and seeing the show goats, and went to the Indiana State Fair and were just shocked at how beautiful the goats were. We had some milk goats at the time for our milk, for cheese and ice cream, and also the goat manure and bedding for the organic gardens. We went from the state fair over to the national show at the Ohio State Fair, and Lordy, those goats were really, really beautiful. So we got hooked. We bought some female goats over at the national show and took them up for breeding, and that launched us into a career of about 50 dairy goats, mostly for show purposes, right there at our homestead. Eventually, we went to Wisconsin to do a commercial goat dairy, which is a wonderful idea, except it's the best way to lose money you could ever imagine. We were leasing a stables where we put the goats in the horse stalls, and we had big gardens there. At the same time, we knew that the Needmore group had some houses empty, and we talked to them. The rent over there was $5 a month, and we thought maybe we could afford that. So we decided to park the goats over there in Needmore and guarantee that they wouldn't ever get out. So we increased the security and the fencing, and we were quite welcomed by all the folks at Needmore. And I really enjoyed that experience. There's a big difference between the party people that would come out to the community on the weekends versus the family people that were into homesteading. We were family people, although we loved to sit around the campfire and listen to some of the best musicians in the whole Midwest. Some of these were very recognizable that they toured even out into California and into to like Austin, Texas, and other places. And the string band was there practicing, and we were able to hear that around the campfire. Really enjoyed that period of time. From there, we went up on top of what is called Dove Bill Lane, the Lake Road. I actually invited a few more people to live on our property, and we had leased 20 acres from the community to secure the homestead. About 1984, we ran into some problems and decided to move from that location, and that pretty much ended that part of my Brown County experience, although later I got hired as the planning director for the entire county. Now, the planning director has kind of got a target on his back in terms of public criticism, but I was a little older and wiser, and I worked toward a solution all the time. The first year, our cases were about 140 cases per year, and I got it down to closer to 50 the very first year. And I was working to get solutions, turning buildings, changing the rules by a few feet. And I had a very good tenure. I worked with people toward solutions. I know we had rules and laws, but I worked toward what made sense. That Brown County experience was just absolutely golden. And I lived for a time up by Lake LaSalle, north of Bean Blossom, during that tenure at the Brown County planning director's position. I also had a chance to live on top of Bear Wallow Hill. Early in the mornings, we'd get a beautiful sunrise, and especially in the wintertime, you could see the entire sky was pink. I didn't have any idea that a morning sunrise would be so beautiful and so pink for so many hours. It was just incredible, just totally incredible. So that was a wonderful memory. Many years later, I revisited Brown County to live with my daughter for a little while. She lives out on Bear Creek Road on about 21 acres. I really enjoyed that experience. She has a guest house where I was able to sleep right next to my wood stove. My doctor said that some of my sensitivities might be an allergy to something like wood smoke. I said, you got to realize I'm sleeping 3 feet away from my wood stove. He says, maybe you should get a bedroom. So I did that, and things got better. I got another job in southern Indiana, and that I really enjoyed that in Huntingburg and Jasper as planning director. Came back from there, and I lived with Gunther Flum on Less Travel Road. Got to meet a wonderful gentleman, Hank Swain. And Hank was quite a writer and quite a poet. And he ran RAPS, which is a writers group here in Brown County. So I got really interested in doing a lot of writing, a lot of poetry. I had about a dozen poems published in the Poets' Corner, in the local newspaper, and I really enjoyed that experience. Most of my poetry was very seasonal and very much earth-oriented. The place that we rented was called Windows on the World. It had about 7 windows across the front. We could see everything, including all the wildlife that would come visit our yard. I loved looking at the tons of squirrels, a few wild turkey, some deer, ducks, big catfish rolling in the pond, and it just seemed like heaven on earth. That's sometimes what I think about Brown County, kind of heaven on earth.